So I think we started this journey of building it up actually 2 years back. We wanted to build a very local event, very content-rich event where like-minded people will sit. And again, I didn't want to divide between a fintech and a non-fintech or a bank or regulator. I wanted everybody to come together into one place where we can actually act like a catalyst. I heard this word for the first time today, catalyst, that we are acting as catalysts. So we wanted to bring them together so that they can actually collaborate and do business. And that was the intent. Now, we obviously thought on day one, 2 years back, that we will do small event and we will curate to that level. But as we start building it up, we had dream of doing 2 tracks. We realized that we ended up last year, I think 4 or 5 tracks. And we had planned for maybe 400-500 people, and we ended up with, 2,000 people, 500 people last time. So it scaled. I think everybody collaborated, everybody came across. I think there are so many people who are willing to help us, both on the sponsorship side and speakership side. And of course, we're so shocked that last year and this year again, we've not spent $1 on communication. So it's all organic, it's all relationships. So everybody came across. I don't think anybody dropped off. Literally everybody came, who's who of the country. So the last year was big, and we thought that this is it. We only had some challenges in terms of space was slightly crunch with 1,000 odd people, or 2,500 people across 2 days. Bit of crunch. We thought we moved to a larger location. I'm shocked that sometimes I find that this was also small. So I think footfall, I don't know. Across 2 days, it'll be like 3,500, 4,000. I don't know the numbers, but it's been very, very positive for us.
Great. You also launched your report with Chadai, talking about the fintech enterprise segment becoming a $20 billion opportunity by 2030, right? Can you summarize the report for us?
I think at a very broad level, we are looking at banks turning fintech. I think let's put it like that. Now that tide is turning and they are seeing the value as well. If you look at in this event as well, there were so many bankers there. They're not acting like we don't know and we will have to figure out. They are doing it and they're delivering it. Some very senior guy told me that the arbitrage is over, right? So if banks are going to turn fintech, they will have to invest so much of money into getting that act right. And for that, they will depend on enterprise fintech as well. There will be some things they will do on their own, which is true. But between a core banking or a LOS or a LMS or payments or trade finance, there are enough opportunities there. And there are such large and complex opportunities that I do believe that this segment will grow dramatically. I think I won't really go into the growth rate, but it's so dramatic that you'll be shocked. That's why you see large funding happening in this segment. And again, there are no winners here, single winners here. There'll be multiple guys who will win. A second part of it is that India is getting respect outside India as well. So if I look at it, these players will not just find foot in the country, they will be able to enter other countries at a fair amount of premium. If that gets through, this segment will be much larger. So when I counted that money, it's actually local Indian revenue. But if I look at it from across board, they will have, 4 times, 5 times over maybe 10, 15 years, they actually will make more money outside India than from India. But that's the vision I have, that Indian companies are getting global. And Indian product companies getting global is more critical. Indian services companies were always global, but product was not there. And that's what is happening now.
So what are few product companies that you see going global in the coming months or years that could be really global in that sense?
I think global to an extent, at limited understanding, I would put is that I wouldn't want to spread companies across the world because it doesn't work like services you can do, but products you can't. But I think good ports to go to will be Middle East and Southeast Asia. That's the right places for us to start and before we drive to other places. Now, in this area, I think I'm not saying that from a sponsorship perspective, but if you look at Perfios, which is already finding traction, Pennant is finding traction, Science is finding traction, Pine Labs, Razorpay. So all of these B2B companies will find traction. I wouldn't find a B2C company getting into another country because they have to build the brand here, there. Whereas in B2B, it's easier to find that you've done well there, so come here. So I don't see a huge positive story happening on a B2C company, but a B2B, for sure, it will be very, very dramatic.
Right. I think India always had that image of being a service-led nation, but we never saw any innovation in the product space. So do you think fintechs, banktechs have that ability to take India to that level?
It is. Where, so for example, when we meet people outside.
And changing the positioning from service-led to product-led innovation?
I think I remember 8-10 years back, I think as usual, some Western guy would have told that India में products नहीं बन सकते, India is not capable. I think that story is over. You can play on that slavery approach, saying that Indians नहीं होगा. I think it's changing dramatically. Some of the products, and if you look at it, fintech ecosystem in payments and lending, we are far ahead of most of the countries as such. And there are enablers there who are building for it, and they're logically going to enter there. So I think product story is well built right now. I think acknowledgement is still to be done. That will happen over a period of time. That also means a change in thought process of people here. Will they fund for that global growth, or if these companies can actually accrue enough from their revenues to make it happen? Either which way, it's a tough story. It's not going to be easy. But I'm sure a good 20-30 entities will make that transition. And those companies will be largely global by nature over a period of time.
Right. As you rightly said that B2C always had that investor attraction, right? For last, I think 1 decade or more than that, B2C has been attracting all kind of funding in the fintech space. And your report currently, as it says that enterprise fintech is going to dominate. So do we see more funding coming into this space? Because anyways, this is B2B. So do we see more investor sentiment in the fintech enterprises?
So I won't say B2C will stop. So all those who are doing well will continue to get funded. So if you look at the investment cycles, they're getting much more bigger checks. So I'm not at all saying B2C story is over, but simple B2C story where you're doing basic retail payments like a UPI and others, that is well done. There are dominant players there. They're doing well, and they will continue to do well. So at no point in time that I'm saying that story is over. If today PhonePe is doing well, or on the side Five is doing well, they will continue to do well. So I'm not saying, and of course they're turning regulated as such, so they're doing very, very well. So that story is there. And then the customer needs are getting taken care of. So if customer needs are getting taken care of, it's okay. If you look at other side, banks are also turning digital. So to the extent that customer needs are taken care of. Let's look at the enterprise side. So that is the area which is not solved for, and therefore investment will happen. Now, I won't say if you look at the picture fully and you will say, okay, in enterprise, too much money is going. It's not like that. It will be calculated amount of money going. Maybe overall, if let's say country has 100%, only 20-25% will go there. But that's a structured activity. If you look at not a single or maybe very limited investment has happened on the core banking side, very limited investment has happened on LOS, LMS, other than to couple top 2 or 3 entities. I think that will get more granular, and more entities should get money there.
And why do you think that banks are so hesitant, with getting into adopting technology? Is it that, I mean, we have been hearing stories on banks being hesitant or not like first mover advantage. They don't have that first mover advantage when it comes to building fintech products. So what is your view on that?
No, I think it's a large organization and they have multiple areas to work on. Banks have remained profitable. They have not had that issue at all. So I think when they invest a bit of a long time. I don't think they cannot build it. They may have done it slowly, but if you look at banking apps as well, all apps are all on par, if not, even if they are behind, they're maybe slightly behind from a nature of work perspective. They have remained compliant. All of that is right. So I think banks are not I won't say hesitant. Banks are very, very assertive in their approach. But it does take more time for. I have been a banker. When I try to build for that, you need to be more cognizant of the speed at which you go, compliances, process. You need to ensure that you don't have a ombudsman issue as well. So I think you do it slightly more carefully, and that philosophy is also moving to banks. So I heard that some of the fintechs were saying that they've slowed down their process because they want to be fully fully compliant. So I think it is both the sides are merging. So after maybe 5 to 10 years, these segments will look almost the same. And I think winners will be customers. Winners will be these entities themselves and you will see some M&As. You need some acquisitions here and there. It will be interesting time ahead. But the pure advantage they had of regulatory arbitrage is not there. So they have to play on that, and then many of them will do really, really well because very smart guys are trying that.
So do we see more consolidation this year? When it
I would say
and
this
the
year.
mergers that you're talking about, banks acquiring more fintechs.
So I wouldn't say who's acquiring whom. I'm not saying, but because that's very specific. But I would say the number of acquisitions in next 3 years will be more than what has happened earlier, and that makes sense because IPO cannot be the only opportunity to exit. There'll be other opportunities available, and I see a large players like a Razorpay or a UB acquiring, and that's very, very fair, right? So you should see larger players amalgamating more entities with them, which is very positive for the market.
And my last question would be on the regulation side, and how do you see the regulator or the government, kind of collaborating with a lot of fintechs? The largest fintech actually is UPI. I mean, that has gone global, which is the government is actually the biggest innovator in this space. How do you see that panning out? Do we see more of such products coming, like UPI, ONDC, more such products coming from the government side?
I think every time I think now this is it, then they add more. So I hear them, they are working very, very heavily on, let's say, health stack or logistics stacks. Now, all of them have logical implications for the banking world. When you do health, I'm sure, or maybe insurance side will come in. Even in lending area, you would want to understand the health of the guy from a risk perspective as well, right? If you have data, you tend to. How it will be used, I don't know, but I'm assuming that based on customer consent, that would be made available. So, in logistics side, let's say if you're doing supply chain financing, would you know that how the logistics is moving, where the trucks are moving, and you can take risk around that. So I think our future life is about figuring out what government is doing in any segment and how is data is available, how is it available from a consent perspective, and which use cases can it be adhered to, aligned to. So I think it's a very, exploratory area. I would urge each entity to take a stab at it all the time, trying to figure out, don't over-invest, but ensure that you're clued on to the challenges or processes which are ahead. You're clued on to the benefits ahead. For example, when UPI was conceptualized in, I think, 2015, we were doing a POC somewhere, and the POC was very similar to what you see in taxis. And I'm talking 2015 when we did the POC where somebody, right guy will drop, and then at the exit payment will happen. So when we conceptualized NPC, I also gave a lot of use cases in the market, and we were part of the team which did it, one of the POCs as well. Now you have to think ahead of time and figure out what happens. In 1 out of 5 cases, we will lose completely. 3 cases will be average, 1 will be winner, but it will take time. I won't really say that you should over leverage on any of these activities on day one, but you must know, I think ONDC will do wonders for the country, and I'm really, really eager to see how ONDC finance will actually impact. So I'm like very, very bullish, and I think more and more things will come out. They're faster than sometimes than fintechs.
Just one follow-up question on the consent part that you mentioned. So will that lead to a lot of, consent is important, but we are seeing a lot of issues related to data privacy and a lot of frauds happening in the fintech space as it goes digital. So do we see more checks and balances coming from the fintechs so that customer data is protected?
Logically, so I think 2-3 years back or 2 years back, I think compliance became important. Now data protection becomes important. Cyber security becomes important. So if your name has money, people will anyway gravitate towards you to attack, right? So fraud. I mean, when we were talking to one of the sessions, the subject was originally focused on how you can improve the business, but it actually focused only on the frauds. So I think, and frauds can be on both sides. Companies doing fraud by misusing the data as well. So I don't think the government or regulator will be lenient on those entities. And that's correctly so from the customer perspective side, can they be assured that the data is going to get used for right purposes? But again, the market takes time to absorb those changes, technology, process, all of that have to be rebuilt or at least re-engineered to take care of those needs. It is an iterative process, nothing known right now to anyone. There's not like this that you will add some solution and then now it is done. It is iterative. You have to figure out which use cases will be impacted, how you can improve it. And then you will also see the trends of frauds, trends of issues, and then figure out how as an industry. So there'll be some work will be done by the banks, fintechs and all. There'll be some which will be done at the potentially SRO level or organization, the entire community level, so that they can improve from there. So that's very largely the thing that there'll be more controls for sure.
So more startups, more fintechs coming in the cybersecurity space.
Logically so. I think there's a lot of, I would say cybersecurity is one side, but generally data-related platforms will come which will ensure that the misuse is not possible, and how do you do consent within the organization, because there's a consent architecture which exists for account aggregator, but within each organization, if let's say somebody else has to look at the data, you may have to put internal controls really well, which happens already in the banks, saying that if you don't have access, you should not look at that data. So I think a lot of frameworks already exist. Maybe they will become even more stiffer as we go forward.
Thank you so much. Anything that you'd like to add to conclude this? Or maybe talk about a little bit about financial inclusion, how the country has performed in the last 10 years?
I'm not an expert in that much. I am still learning on inclusion. Anything else you think I should speak about?
Or maybe one line or 1 2 lines on what will dominate the key trends that will dominate. It's there in the report, we know that. But if you can share 2 3 key trends that will dominate 2024.
Year ही कुछ फायदा नहीं होता. Checks time.
Full headline.
Headline वाला मैं आदमी ही नहीं हूँ. ठीक है. I think.
Okay.
Want me to speak a bit about the company? I can do that.
Yeah. Sure.
So as a firm, the Digital is largely focused on providing deep consulting on digital finance. That's the only area we have been operating. When we started in 2017 as a fintech consulting firm, I think that category did not exist. So we went through the process of building that category, sort of nurturing it in multiple ways through content, through trainings and all of that. And a lot of people have read through our ecosystem, a lot of reports we did. But primary focus has always been to provide deep consulting. I think India has not seen much of a consulting of Indian kind. So it has always been certain foreign entities coming to India and building for it. Our name itself is actually to provide alternatives to the big entities in the country, and we believe that India is far ahead in many ways. We need more practitioners to build consulting, and this journey has been 7-year-old. I think this event, Bharat Fintech Summit, is actually almost in the same days as we started the firm in 2017. So 7 years on, we've been building it. We've gravitated towards. As we've moved, we started earlier working with early stage startups. Now we've gravitated towards mid-stage banks. We're working with now insurance companies. We work with VCs. We work with multiple types of work. So anybody looking for strategy, digital strategy, anybody looking at how to build stacks, how to build products, they work with us. And we just don't provide consulting. We actually put people out there to get it up. So we're hands-on people. We build it for them. So many places when we work with embedded finance players, we technically enter before the CEO that embedded finance business comes. We build a business. We are technically like a co-founder. We have an interest of the customer because these same customers actually come back and work with us in long-term basis. So we work on consulting deeply. In terms of beyond execution, we can go deep into data security. So that's one element where we work. We work with all of VCs also in their due diligence. So they want to invest in some companies. They want to see, is it right companies to work? We work out there. We work with a lot of theses in the market as well. So let's say if you want to invest, which areas to work on, what areas to avoid, all of those granular pieces what we work on right now. And of course, we do a bit of research. So that's how the report on enterprise fintech came. We wanted to build a deep report for the market for people to understand where to invest, what to do. So that's largely what we do. And of course, the interest we have is that next 5 to 6 years, we should become very large in this segment. How large is, I don't know, but we should remain a respected company. We should be trusted. We should have technically 100% customers coming back to us. We don't want a situation that we keep identifying new customers. We want to work with the customers on long-term basis, do deeper works and really impact the P&L of the company, customer satisfaction as well. And yeah, that's the intent. We will enter other markets, let's say Middle East and Southeast Asia, but that will be a slow process. I don't want to put too much money out there. But that's the intent, and of course, from a workforce perspective, we want to be maybe from, I won't say the best company to work with, because in startup people have to do a lot of work. Sometimes they feel that they are doing a lot of work, but from a validation perspective, anybody working with us should really feel empowered. They should feel that they're doing the right stuff, and they obviously will do a step ahead of the time as well. So the event was organized by just these 30 guys. So intent is that they will actually scale up to the next level, and we keep growing from there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Asha.